Welcome back to Bud Light Hog Talk, final segment of this week's episode. We're at Onyx Bar Grill in Machesney Park, Illinois. Our thanks to Dylan Olson and Ben Simon for joining us earlier in the show. Our final guest is Ben Youds, IceHogs defenseman. Let's give a nice round of applause. Welcome back to Rockford to Ben Youds.
Thank you. Feels good to be back.
The fan favorite Ben Youds back in Rockford. Newly recalled from Toledo. How was your experience down in Ohio?
It was good. I got the news I was going to go down there, and wanted to make the most out of it down there, and just kind of keep playing my game, and it ended up working really well. The coaches down there just let me play my style, and it went really well, and had a good group of guys down there. Had some veteran guys and some young guys, so it was a team that gelled pretty well, and I was able to play my game, and it worked out well down there. So hopefully I can bring it up here and keep playing my game.
It was a tough situation for a guy like you because of the NHL lockout with Nick Leddy down there, and so many guys fighting for so few spots, especially as a defenseman. It must have been tough to get that call after a game where you scored 2 points, get 2 assists, and were the second star of a game.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously never want to hear the news that you're going down, but that's the way it was. And you know the numbers game, and you kind of get a feel for it, and so I kind of knew it might be a possibility that that's going to happen, but I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to give him an excuse to do that. And like you said, I don't think I did, which was good, and didn't hurt as much going down there, but that's the way it was, and I knew it was kind of a numbers thing. But I just wanted to go down. I wanted to go down to Toledo and use that as an opportunity to find my game and keep playing well and do all the little things. And it was a blessing that it went that well down there. And we had a good team and good coaches, and so it was a blessing to be able to go down there and improve but it's always never easy finding out that you're getting sent down.
You always want to be moving up. You never want to move down.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
You mentioned you wanted to play your game and make the most of it. And if the accolades mean anything, you certainly did. You had 33 points or 27 points in 33 games. Yep. Named an ECHL All-Star. Means you did pretty well. Yeah. There you go. Look at that. Round of applause.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing. You look at each situation and you want to make the most out of it. You never. You don't want to get down, and you don't want to why me and poor me and get into that. So it was a blessing that it went that well, and I was able to go down there and play well and play a lot of minutes and do well. So I looked at it as an opportunity, and that's exactly what it was. And you hear all the talk about the lockout, and you think it's going to end, and after about 2 weeks, I just kind of shut everything off and didn't worry about it anymore. And so I think when you just worry about stuff that you can control, you play better, and that's what helped me down there.
It's tough for a guy to have a mindset like that sometimes. Obviously, you're always going to try to make yourself do as best as you can, but in a situation like that, a lot of guys might get down on themselves and say, oh, this really stinks. I wish I wasn't here, and just kind of go through the motion. You took it as an opportunity to really try to improve your game, get premium ice time, and do what you do and play your style of game, and it showed with the numbers and the accolades.
Yeah, and I mean, some guys will, you never want to get sent down, like you said, and some guys, take that as either an opportunity, or they take it as a way that, it's why me and poor me, and when that happens, it's obviously not a good situation. But it ended up, working out really well, played my game, and I just looked at it, like I said, as an opportunity to get better and use each day, and so it ended up being a blessing for me.
We have a question on Twitter from Trisha. She says, "Is there a difference playing in the AHL versus the ECHL?"
I would say the speed. You have to be a little quicker with the puck and your plays and stuff. But for the most part, it wasn't that big of a change. Obviously you have better guys in the A and you have better guys in the NHL. So every league you go up, there's obviously better players. But for the most part, it was the speed, and there was, here it's more structured. Down there, you don't have systems, and kind of you see more guys running around and whatnot. But I would say the main thing is the speed. But with the lockout and everybody, the trickle down effect, it was this year was obviously the best year that they've had since the 04-05 season when they had the other lockout. So it was a good time though. Like the speed and everything was there. So but now that guys are getting called up, each league's obviously getting better. So.
We talked to Terry Broadhurst during one of the intermissions from a game last week, and he said the thing that he notices most between the AHL and the ECHL, guys tend to hold on to the puck, try to make one extra move in the ECHL, and it gets stripped or they turn it over. In the AHL, puck's moving a lot quicker, tape to tape.
Yeah, just the speed and the transition of the game. It's not obviously you have better players here, so guys are able to make plays and do things that some guys down in the coast can't. So, but it's a lot. It's a little bit quicker up here, and you gotta have your head on a swivel all the time. And but so far the transition obviously it's been fine, been easy. So I haven't had any problems with that.
It's a bit of a unique situation in Toledo with them being an affiliate of the Blackhawks and the Red Wings. You played with a guy who was also an ECHL All-Star, Lou Glendenning. You come up. You guys get called up about the same day and play against each other a couple days later. He's on the Griffins. Now you're on the IceHogs. It's got to be kind of weird being on the ice in different jerseys.
And see, you when you look outside of the box and like I got sent down, and when I was talking about the opportunity and blessing, it's you get to meet other people, right? You get sent down and you get to meet other people that I wouldn't have been able to meet if I was up in Rockford. And I got to meet a bunch of good guys that were down there. And me and Glennie hit it off, and really good guy, easy going, went to Michigan, college guy, so easy to get along with. And we got called up at the same time, and we were joking. We went out to dinner. We went to that green fireplace, and ended up grabbing dinner. And Andre Nestor-Sill is also on that team, and he was in Toledo too. So we all went out. Grab some dinner and stuff, and it's funny because you don't really know where you're gonna see people, and we ended up seeing each other that week, and then right back at it playing against each other in the A.
You had a few other guys down there in Toledo that might have helped the transition a little bit with Brandon Svensson. He came down a little bit later, but Byron Fraze and Terry Broadhurst were both down there with you. It must have been nice to go down and kind of have familiar faces around that you can kind of lean on maybe if you were struggling or something.
Yeah, for sure, and you always want to stick with guys that kind of have the same interest, and those guys, they love to work hard, and so it was easy, to do little things after practice or going to the weight room when nobody was there, and you always had somebody to kind of pull you in there if you weren't really feeling like it. So it was good to have those guys out down there. I mean, with the lockout and stuff, obviously it's the trickle down effect. So it was cool that. You weren't going down there alone. You had some guys that you were coming down there with, and which made it nice, and it made it, obviously more enjoyable than, if you were solo effort down there. But it was fun to have those guys down there. We hung out every day, so it was cool. It was nice to have those guys around.
Well, your job as a defenseman, keep the puck out of the net. The guy whose real job is to keep the puck out of the net, the goalies. You were down there with Peter Mrazek, who ended up coming up with Grand Rapids, and he's just been a phenomenal goalie there for the Griffins. Since he came up in October, he's the winningest goalie in the AHL. But Kent Simpson, a Blackhawks prospect, he was down there in Toledo, and he's put up some pretty nice numbers down there.
Yeah, no, Simmer's been playing really well. He's a big, strong goalie, and he always works hard. And with whatever he does. So he's definitely an up and coming prospect here for Tenders.
Well, this weekend or this week, I should say, taken 2 out of 3 games. The loss on Wednesday against Grand Rapids was a tough one, but describe kind of getting ready for that game on Friday night. Dylan Olsen said it was a must-win game. Ben Smith did. Did you kind of get that same vibe?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it in the locker room, and we were sitting at 500, and you have half your games left, so it's kind of it's a turning point. You can either go one way. So, and we had a meeting about that and talked, and obviously wanted to emphasize how important points are, especially late in the season. They're tough to come by, and every game you get closer to playoffs is a harder game. So we wanted to emphasize that, and I think the guys got the message, and we responded well.
Well, now you've won 2 in a row going into this week's action. What are your goals individually now that you're back in Rockford for the second half of the season? And then on top of that, the goals, obviously, for the team, win a championship. But what about kind of what are you looking forward to doing the next second half of the season?
Well, hopefully with the lockout done, I'll be staying here. But just play my game and play my style and compete. And I think that's one of the main things, just working hard and competing. But going down the road, just making playoffs. Anything can happen in the playoffs. You look at the Kings last year were an A seed and they ended up winning it. So anything can happen in the playoffs. You just got to get there, and that's obviously everybody's goal. But we just need to make sure that we pick up points. Any points running down the road is good. So as long as we pick up points in games, we'll be fine. We definitely have the caliber of players to get it done. So we just got to get the job done.
Talked to Olsen earlier about you two being on the power play now, and you mentioned how much you play your game. You're an offensive-minded defenseman. You love to get involved. You like to sneak back in on the power play, especially trying to cut in back door. Maybe pinching more than some guys would, or whatever it be. You kind of have that knack, the offensive instinct that a lot of defensemen don't naturally have.
Yeah, and I think that's just growing up, I always played forward, so I was always in the rush and joining the rush and I switched playing to defense when I was in high school. So I kind of, I haven't lost that side, which has been good and has, obviously helped my game out a lot. But I think it's more or less you just read the plays, and I think, everybody does it. Just some guys don't. That's not their game. Like you look at some of the other guys, and they're big, strong. They don't need to get up there. So you just, each guy has their little knack and what they're good at. So I just, hopefully try to stick to I guess my skill set.
Do you have a preference? Did you enjoy playing forward more than you did defense?
No, I mean it's fun always to go back and play.
Who doesn't like scoring goals,
exactly.
Right?
But even down in Toledo, we had some of the guys ended up getting hurt, and they needed a forward, so they asked if I wanted to go up and play forward, and it's always fun playing a different position. You just kind of roll with it and have fun. And but that was the. Since there, it's been a while since I've played forward, but it's always enjoyable to get up there.
Do you kind of have that defenseman instinct now? When you're playing forward, you're immediately always thinking, all right, I got to get back to the front of the net.
Yeah, I normally just stay high in the slot, be a good third guy, and try not to back check too much. I feel like when you're doing that, you're already behind the 8 ball. So
right.
Gotta just kind of stay high in the slot and try to play as let those guys, they're good at what they do, so I kind of let those guys do their own thing.
Just stick around in the background, try not to be the center of attention.
Exactly, stay out of the way.
Toledo's kind of been scrambling for guys now, with Grand Rapids calling up guys in Rockford, and they were on a 3-game trip in Florida. Not the best time for the lockout to end for them.
Yeah, I don't know, honestly, I don't know what they're going to do. They're just pulling names out of a hat. But they have that, and that's kind of the problem. They have 2 affiliates, and so, when the lockout ends, everybody's getting called back up, so if they're picking people from 2 teams instead of just one with some of the affiliates. So for those guys, it's a little harder. But we were sitting in first place, so hopefully they can find some guys and keep the ball rolling down there, because they still have a good team and still a good group of guys. So hopefully they can find some of those holes and find some key guys, good guys that are going to help them win some games.
You're a college guy, Minnesota Mankato. We talked to Olsen. You guys had maybe a little friendly rivalry back in the day in college. The Minnesota aspect, you're a Minnesota boy. I'm glad Mike Peck's not hosting the show. Otherwise, it'd be 20 minutes of you guys talking about the Twins.
I forgot to wear my Twins hat anyways.
Thankfully, you didn't.
I know.
Are you a big Twins fan, Vikings fan?
Yep. Twins, big Twins fan.
I don't like you right now.
Slowly getting into the Vikings.
It takes a while for the Canadian guys to get into the NFL.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been to a Vikings game, so maybe if they got a new stadium, I'd probably end up going to a few. But
were you just not a fan of football growing up?
Yeah, no, I played football. I just never. I don't know. We just never ended up going. It was always. I'd always have a hockey game or something, and I wouldn't ever think about going to a game. But we, on Sundays or something, we were always playing backyard. We were always playing pond hockey or doing something. So I never really.
It's cold enough in Minnesota to play a lot of pond hockey.
Yeah, exactly. So I never really got into it a whole lot. Now I like it. He's
bandwagon Vikings fan. Adrian Peterson's healthy. Yeah, okay, I see how it is.
He's playing well. I like him.
Going back to the college aspect, you were an undrafted guy. Do you kind of play with a chip on your shoulder because of that?
No, I think it just happens to be that's the way I kind of play, and I think that's what's helped me along the way is I've more so had to work for everything that I've got. So I think that's kind of groomed me into who I am and the way I play. And that's kind of one of those things where not everybody might get the bounces their way, but in the end, it's not where you start, it's where you finish. So you just got to keep improving every day and keep working hard, and good things will happen.
Ryan Stanton, undrafted as well. He just got the recall for the Blackhawks. Do you kind of look up to, not necessarily look up to him, but look at his situation and say, wow, well, he kind of worked his way into it, did what he had to do, and it's easy to be envious, I'm sure, but you're also trying to fight to do the exact same thing.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing. You look at guys and that are in the same boat as you, and it's kind of one of those things. It gives you a reason to keep improving and keep working hard, because you look at like Stance, and he's the same way. He's had to work for everything that he's got, and obviously just watching him play, he's hard-nosed guy, blocks shots, and good guy to have on your team. So you look at a guy like that, and he's worked for everything that he's got, and it's worked out for him. And super pumped that he got called up. Great guy, great D-man, and I really hope that he can get some games in up there. If not, stay up there the rest of the year, because he's one of those guys, like you said, that really deserves it.
And it's tougher for a guy like him, a stay-at-home defenseman, not a guy who's going to put up points in big numbers, but just a really good, solid guy in his own end, good penalty killer. It's got to be tougher for a guy like him, who's not going to be putting up the points, to get noticed. So maybe the lockout helped him. Well,
I think you notice when guys are taking pucks off the skates and off the head and shins and everything else. So, you don't really notice, like you said, the stay-at-home D-man, but you notice Stance because he does the little things well. He works hard, blocks shots, he sacrifices his body. So it's not for his style of play. It's impressive that you're able to notice him out on the ice. Well,
Benny, thanks for the time, obviously, and welcome back to Rockford. It's great to have you back.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, that's Ben Youds. Let's give a nice round of applause for Ben Youds back with the IceHogs. That's all the time we have this week on Bud Light Hog Talk. Our next episode is Monday, February 11th. A little bit of time off. We'll be back at District Bar and Grill. Thanks again to Ben Simon, Dylan Olson, and Ben Youds for joining us on this week's show. We'll see you next time. Have a good night, everybody.